Welcome everyone to another virtual message from First Presbyterian Church. Before we begin, an invitation. We're going to have our first virtual coffee today at around 11-ish. If you didn't receive an invitation, send me your email and the next virtual coffee will make sure that you receive your invite. It's going to be a video conference. Bring your coffee, bring your snacks, and join together.
I got the keys to the kingdom. The world can't do me no harm. I got the keys to the kingdom. The world can't do me no harm. Go on, Gabriel, get your trumpet. Move it on down to the sea. But don't you sound that trumpet until you hear from me. I got the keys to the kingdom. World can't do me no harm. I got the keys to the kingdom. World can't do me no harm. Take old John on the island, place him in a kettle to boil. Well, then the angel came from heaven down, told that kettle not to boil. I got the keys to the kingdom. World can't do me no harm. I got the keys to the kingdom. World can't do me no harm. We'll take old Paul and Silas, place them in a jail below. Well, then the angel came from heaven down and unlocked the prisoner's door. I got the keys to the kingdom. World can't do me no harm. I got the keys to the kingdom. World can't do me no harm. To the kingdom, world can't do me no harm. I got the keys to the kingdom. World can't do me no harm. I got the keys, I got the keys, I got the kingdom to the kingdom. World can't do me no harm. I got the keys to the kingdom. World can't do me no harm. I said, world can't do me no harm. No, world can't do me no harm. World can't do me no harm.
In modern day car culture, there's an ongoing belief that BMWs don't come with blinkers as standard equipment. And that belief stems from the fact that in many cases, people who drive BMWs are jerks. I bring that up because when Laura and I used to actually go out before this unprecedented global pandemic hit, we used to see a BMW that had a license plate, customized license plate, that said, "Not a jerk." And every time we'd see that license plate, we would say to each other, pointing to that BMW, "Prove it." America has a racism problem. And it started at the signing of the Constitution of the United States. Black people were given 0.7 of humanity. And white people were given 1. And so from the get-go, black people, people of color, were less than. Now, granted, there have been amendments to the Constitution to try to change that. But clearly, from the get-go, America has a racism problem. And this racism problem, it isn't new today. You're just seeing more of it because of technology, because it's been there for the longest time. I've shared with you stories about my childhood. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you ever have that talk with your parents? You know, where they sit you down and they give you the talk. I'm betting that the one I had isn't the talk you're thinking about. See, my parents sat me down, and I remember when it happened, but I don't remember what was going on in history that made them decide that they needed to have this talk with me. They gave me explicit instructions on how I was supposed to act around police. Now, it wasn't instruction on me being maybe showing manners or being respectful. This talk that they gave me was about what to do so that they wouldn't hurt me. Keep your eyes down. Never make eye contact. Always answer yes, sir, or no, sir. And don't ever show them that you have any power. So for my entire life, I am fearful when I'm around the police. It's what I needed to be so that I wouldn't be hurt. Many people in this country have no idea what that's like. Many people in this country do not fear the police because they've never had to. I've told you about that time that my parents dropped me off at a local golf course. I wanted to try to play, and I took my father's hard earnings in my pocket and I tried to play, and I was told, Mexicans don't play golf. They cut the grass at the golf course. I'll never forget when I moved to Midland, Texas. It was the first time I had ever left home. It was my first professional job, and I was lonely. I was looking for something to take up, some sort of hobby, something to do after work. And so I went to a store in Midland, and I walked in hoping maybe I'll find something here, some sort of book or some sort of item that'll just give me something to do. And before the door closed behind me, the woman behind the counter ran toward me and said, "We don't serve your kind here." I'll never forget the first time I was introduced to a congregation I was to lead. I was introduced as a half-breed. Now, I'm not sharing this with you because I think I'm special or need special treatment. I'm sharing this with you because I know that I am not equal. This nation has a racism problem. And so protests have been ongoing for days due to the horrific treatment and killings of people by those in power. And let me say, if you're on the fence about whether or not these protests should be happening, let me remind you of a protester who pushed for peace, was arrested, tortured, and then killed. You can read all about it in the Bible. Silence is no longer an option. Now, I have said many times, preach the gospel always, and when necessary, use words. Well, now it is necessary to use words because this nation is suffering because of a racism problem. And it's the kind of insidious racism that has pushed people down for generations. Pushing people down so far that they are seen as less than. They are treated as less than. People don't have access to health care. They don't have access to opportunity. They don't even have access to equal pay or any kind of equal treatment. Things need to change, and it needs to start now. We need to learn in order to grow. We need to learn in order to speak properly about what is happening. I encourage you to read and learn about Black history. I'll offer these as choices for you to consider. Read, understand. You'll learn new terms like redlining. The kind of racist treatment of people that prevented them from purchasing property, that prevented them from making it in this country. People who served this country with honor, they came back with their uniforms after fighting for this country, and they were pushed down by that very country. I encourage you to do what's right. And if you don't know what that is, then I'll offer these options to you as a way of showing your support for the protests and protesters that are trying to affect change for good. Racism is alive in this country. Racism exists. History will not be kind to silence. It will not be kind to inaction. And if we are going to grab a Bible and raise it, then prove that you believe what it says. The Bible was written for and about the very people who are oppressed and pushed to the margins of society. If you believe that, and if you believe in the peaceful protest that led to the death of Jesus, if you believe that, then prove it. Today is Communion Sunday. I'll give you an opportunity to gather your bread and your drink as we commune together while we're apart. Now, on the night of his arrest, Jesus took bread, he gave thanks, he broke it, and he gave it to his disciples, and he said, "Take, eat. This is my body, broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same manner, he took the cup, and after giving thanks, he said, "This cup is the cup of the new covenant, sealed in my blood, shed for you for the forgiveness of sins. Drink. Do this in remembrance of me." Every time we eat bread and drink from the cup, we do so giving thanks. I now invite you all to eat and drink in remembrance. Let's close with the Lord's Prayer. Now is the time to speak. Now is the time to act. Do so with love, mercy, and kindness. Do good in this world. We must do good in this world. Go now. Until we meet again. Peace be with you.
Kiss me, mother, kiss your darling. Lay